Alright, what's going on, you guys? Welcome to Real Madrid Hub. Again, I'm your host, Dr. JOTA. Today, a different video. You won't see my face today because I will be talking about from the microphone right in front of the camera and right in front of the laptop. And what you guys are going to see is pretty much the screen, just because I want to show you all a bunch of news regarding to Real Madrid. We are going to start talking about the game against Inter de Milan, which is of course the most important news today. But of course there are also different news that I wanted to talk to you all about it, because last night in El Chiringuito, Eduardo Inda showed up with a bunch of exclusive news like every single Monday, and so we will be talking about that as well. But before we get started, let me remind you that today, again, we are playing against Inter de Milan, a very important game, crucial game to top the group, to top the standings in the group, and to be the first ones in this UEFA Champions League in the group stage. So what does that mean for us? I mean, it's very important for us to become the first ones of this group, just because you will be facing off teams like Benfica, Salzburgo, what is the other one? Sporting de Lisboa. I mean, kind of secondary or weaker teams, weaker sides that of course everybody is assuming you will beat too. So there won't be any kind of problem, setback, or whatever. If you, on the other hand, are the second one right after, I mean, say for example that today Inter de Milan beats down Real Madrid and Real Madrid is second one, then we will have to face more powerful teams like Bayern de Munich, or even Bayern de Munich or Manchester City, or things like that. You know what I'm saying? So it is better for us to try to be the first ones in the group and see what happens, right? So that is the first thing I have to tell you all. The second one is about the lineup. Last night in UEFA, they are claiming Real Madrid will have two new faces today in the lineup. The first one is going to be Marcelo, and the second one is going to be Camavinga. The reason for that is because Mendy already has a yellow card, so Ancelotti doesn't want to take any risk, and he will prefer actually to sit down on the bench to Ferland Mendy and give some minutes to Marcelo Vieira, and then the second one is got to be Camavinga, and the reason for that is because he wants to give some rest to Luka Modric. But let me tell you what, I'm not sure about that, just because what I'm thinking is pretty much, I think that Carlo Ancelotti will try to make sure that we become the first one in the Champions League, so he will probably utilize to the most typical lineup in Real Madrid, including to Luka Modric and Ferland Mendy. But that is just my thought, right? So it's not something that is going to happen. It's just my thought. It's what I guess. And I mean, we will have to wait and see what happens finally. Let me tell you something else. Of course, today is another big opportunity, another big chance for Luka Jovic to show everybody he's ready to become one of the most important attackers or forwards in Real Madrid. Because as you know, Benzema hasn't been included in the squad list. He won't be able to make it just because he's injured, and right now his main goal is to be able to make it against Atletico de Madrid. So that is pretty much what I have for you all regarding to the game against Inter de Milan. But now let's go with the most important news, guys, and let's go ahead with the things that Eduardo Inda said last night in El Chiringuito when he showed up, and he said something like this. I mean, I can't play this video just because the copyright stuff, but what he's saying right here, when he was like 1 hour of show, he said Kylian Mbappé is already signed in for Real Madrid. And that is because what he's claiming is pretty much there's already a private contract between Real Madrid and Kylian Mbappé that was signed by both parts, by Real Madrid and Kylian Mbappé, last summer. I mean, the contract, as you can imagine, didn't go through, right? Just because Kylian Mbappé finally had to remain in PSG. But it really doesn't matter, because the reason for that, I mean, it is not because Kylian Mbappé didn't want to sign for Real Madrid in the last minute. It was actually because Paris Saint-Germain avoid and did everything possible in their hand to avoid that possibility that Kylian Mbappé would become a Real Madrid player, right? So there's no point there's no point for Real Madrid to sue or take him to the court or something like that just because he couldn't comply the contract or something like that. So, but what is true, according to Eduardo Inda, is there's already a private contract between Kylian Mbappé and Real Madrid. And also, he added, everybody right now is thinking, everybody actually is assuming Kylian Mbappé will play for Real Madrid. And there's nobody in this world that is able to claim Kylian Mbappé won't play for Real Madrid. It is pretty much impossible to think about that possibility, right? So that is pretty much the most important he said regarding to Kylian Mbappé. But also, a little bit, if I fast forward this video, what he said later on, it was pretty much Erling Haaland, in his own opinion, and this is just an opinion. Okay, let me tell you a little bit more about because it's a very, it's a kind of short, long story, because FC Barcelona right now is waiting for a new credit approval from 3 American banks. So once they get the money, once the credit goes through and is approved and all the stuff, FC Barcelona will be able to fight for players like Erling Haaland and Paul Pogba. Because right now, financial-wise, FC Barcelona is broke and there's no money left for sign any single player in soccer for them, right? So that's why they're expecting for this credit to approve to be able to get some cash and be able to fight for players. So the thing is, what Eduardo Inda claimed is, although I think Erling Haaland is done deal for Real Madrid, FC Barcelona is waiting for this credit to make them or put him on the race for signing Erling Haaland. But in his opinion, Erling Haaland has already chosen to Real Madrid. So that is the point here. That is what makes every single thing difficult, right? Nobody right now thinks FC Barcelona is in good condition, is in good shape to sign any single player, and even less if this player is Erling Haaland, right? But they also think that if they get that credit, then they will be able to fight, for Erling Haaland or players like that. Let me go ahead and show you all guys this news because I think it was right here in OK Diario. Let me find the news. It was no. Oh yeah, it's right here. No, this is about Marcelo because the other thing is Eduardo Inda had to say sorry to Marcelo, but it's another different story. Okay, it's right here. Look at that. FC Barcelona wants to get into the fight for Erling Haaland and Paul Pogba. And when it happened, that is what he said, right? So that is pretty much what happened with Erling Haaland. So now let me keep moving forward and keep talking about the next news, which is, it's about Marcelo Vieira. And the reason for that is because, according to Diario Olé, I think it's from Brazil or Argentina or something like that. According to that newspaper, Marcelo Vieira already has an agreement with Fluminense because once his contract with Real Madrid is expired, and that is going to happen next June 2022, he will go ahead and sign for Fluminense because it's the team when he first started as a soccer player, right? So it's pretty much assuming that he has to leave Real Madrid this season, and that is pretty much what all of us are assuming, that Marcelo won't be renewed by Real Madrid just because this is the last year contract for Marcelo and nobody is expecting for him to renew his contract with Real Madrid, and apparently the player is looking for a new future, and that new future is going to be with Fluminense, which is of course very important news for all of us. And that is as far as Marcelo Vieira. To me, and that is the other story I had to tell you all guys, Eduardo Inda had to say sorry to Marcelo just because the other day apparently they met each other and they were talking about that, and Marcelo was a little bit upset towards Eduardo Inda, and the reason for that is because Eduardo Inda was all the time claiming Marcelo Vieira was going to leave out of Real Madrid, right? So Marcelo said, you're lying all the time, you're cheating, and you're not saying the truth. And then Eduardo Inda said, hey, excuse me, but this is the information that I got from you, about you from other people, right? But let me tell you what, if you say so, if you say you're not leaving Real Madrid, let me go to El Chiringuito and then deny all the rumors and say, sorry, number one, and two, that you don't want to leave Real Madrid for now. And that is what he said. Eduardo Inda said sorry to Marcelo. He apologized to the Brazilian player, and that is pretty much what happened. But to me, there's no point, just because we all know Marcelo has to leave at some point. And now that his contract is expiring in June 2022, I think it's the right moment, the best moment for him to leave. But of course, we will have to wait, as usual, a little bit more and see what happens with Marcelo Vieira, because we still don't know about that yet. And now let me move forward and talk about the news regarding to Fede Valverde, and this is coming out from Fabrizio Romano, because apparently last week somebody claimed Manchester United was super interested in signing Fede Valverde for next year, right? Apparently to replace Paul Pogba or something like that. Well, today Fabrizio Romano has denied that possibility, because according to the reports he has within Manchester United, they are strongly convinced Fede Valverde is so Madridista that at any moment he will think about to change Real Madrid for any other team. That is completely out of his mind, and he would be completely crazy if he quit Real Madrid to go ahead and sign for another team. So Manchester United is assuming the player wants to stay in Real Madrid, and of course they won't have a single chance to sign him in. And of course, now apparently they are withdrawing that apparently offer that had made last week for Fede Valverde, because they are strongly convinced they have nothing to do with that. They have nothing to do for them to sign Fede Valverde for the next year. That is pretty much impossible. So most important, guys, because I don't want to keep talking about much more stuff, just because the most important is pretty much the game against Inter de Milan. And I will be back right after the game with my analysis and all the stuff. But for now, we have this video with a bunch of news, a bunch of updates before the game. Most important about Mbappé, Haaland, and of course the game against Inter de Milan. Of course, now I invite you all to comment in the section below, and of course subscribe my channel, Real Madrid Hub.